Hello, everybody. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Please take a seat, everybody. This is a great day for the state of Maryland. But it's not lost on me, and I know it's not lost on anybody here, that today's triumph was born out of tragedy. That just shy of 1 year ago, on March 26th, I got a call in the middle of the night, and I learned that the dolly had slammed into the Key Bridge and brought it down. In response to this horrible tragedy, that first morning, we laid out 4 key objectives. The first, we would locate all of the victims and provide comfort and closure to their families. The second, we would clear the channel and fully reopen the Port of Baltimore to vessel traffic. The third, we would support everyone who was affected by this collapse, from the dock workers to our small businesses. And the fourth, we would rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge. We tackled the first 3 directives faster than anyone anticipated. For Directive 1, we recovered all 6 victims and brought comfort and closure to their families, and I want the entire state to know that we still continue to stand with those families and be with those families, and I want all of the families to know that the entire state continues to stand with you. Están en nuestros corazones, nuestros pensamientos y nuestras oraciones. Directive 2. While many said it would take 11 months to reopen the Port of Baltimore, this team got it done in 11 weeks. We had an extraordinary unified command that worked day and night to get that channel cleared, and to see so many members of that unified command, from the Coast Guard to the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, U.S. Navy SUPSOL, from the Army Corps of Engineers to our local leadership, Mr. Mayor, and our local county and our county executives, to all of our federal partners, to our MDTA, our MDOT, our MSP, everybody who was involved in this work. This was the gold standard of what unified command could and should look like. Directive 3, we passed bipartisan legislation with the Maryland General Assembly to support our workers and keep Marylanders on the job. And I want to give a shout out to the members of the Maryland General Assembly who got it done within days on a bipartisan basis to be able to make sure that funding was there. Thank you, Senator. And after completing those 3 directives, we set our focus on number 4, rebuilding the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And this directive is not about nostalgia. This directive is about necessity. Because you cannot have a fully functioning Port of Baltimore, the gateway to America, without the Key Bridge. And we wanted to make sure that people understood that this was one of the core arteries that was necessary to make sure that the Port of Baltimore could continue to do all the work, that it could do on behalf of not just the people of Maryland, but the people of this country. And when it came to making sure that we would rebuild the Francis Scott Key Bridge, we made sure to tackle this directive just like we tackled the other 3 directives. Together, arm in arm, that we were going to be mission first and people always. And over the last several months, We have spoken with, and I know I've spoken personally with over 160 members of Congress on this issue, explaining to them the importance, walking them through the details. They were able to work in partnership with our Attorney General, and our Attorney General, Anthony Brown, who recently filed suit against the Dolly's owners and managers to ensure that Marylanders will not shoulder the cost of rebuilding this bridge. That a broad bipartisan coalition assembled in both chambers to get the necessary support from leadership to assist with the financing of the Key Bridge had to move, and it had to move expeditiously. And the people of Maryland are grateful that Congress has stepped up strongly in helping to support this effort. And we would not be here if it were not for some of the best partners that I could ever ask for. Partners like our Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller. Partners like our Transportation Secretary, Paul Wiedefeld. Partners like our extraordinary federal delegation. I know we have one of them here, the remarkable new Congresswoman Sarah Elfreth, and it's so happy to have you here. Thank you for all your leadership. And I know there's a few members who I also want to give a special personal shout out to, include Congressman Mfume. I know this is his district, and I know he wanted to be here, but he's called down to Washington. And also two people who we would not be here if it were not for the work of Senator Chris Van Hollen and Senator Ben Cardin. It took a big team to get to this moment. It took a unified team to get to this moment. And this moment is a really big deal. And now, we are grateful to unveil the design for the new Francis Scott Key Bridge. This proposal honors the architectural tradition of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The original bridge was built using the most advanced industry standard and best materials available at the time. Our new bridge will also be constructed in accordance with the most advanced industrial standards and also the very best in infrastructure design. We are going to use the best materials available, and we are going to employ many Marylanders to get it done. This is a really big deal. And this is a moment that I know for so many of us, we've been waiting a long time for today. And the people in this room and the people who this room represents, we're here because of you. We're here because you never stop pushing. We're here because you never stop believing that we would look up and one day again soon see the Francis Scott Key Bridge. We are going to continue to work together to cement Baltimore as a maritime hub for the East Coast and a maritime hub for this nation. And this year, our administration has proposed new funding for a transformative project at Tray Point Atlantic. It is going to increase the Port of Baltimore's container capacity by 70%. It will create more than 8,000 jobs, and it will generate more than $1 billion in private investments. Maryland is the bridge between America and the rest of the world. This will be the place that the country will remember not just what resilience looks like, but what economic growth looks like. Because we get cars from Michigan out to market. We bring sugars and spices to Louisiana. We haul farm equipment from the East Coast deep into the farmland. Commerce and trade are the bedrock of our state. And we will continue to make investments that honor our tradition. So we still have work to do. But this is an incredibly important step forward. And I know that the people with us today will gather, and will gather soon, to celebrate the reopening of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. May God continue to watch over the victims of the collapse. May God continue to watch over their families. May God continue to watch over this journey. May God continue to watch over our great state. Today, your hard work paid off. Congratulations, Maryland. I am now honored to turn the microphone over to my partner in the work, our state's Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller.
Governor, thank you so much, and thank you for your unwavering leadership. In one of Maryland's worst maritime disasters, you didn't just lead an effort to rebuild. You made sure Maryland stood strong, turning loss into momentum and uncertainty into resolve. On behalf of the people of Maryland, thank you, Governor Moore. Good afternoon, everyone. What happened on March 26, 2024, tested us in ways we could have never imagined. But what happened next was nothing short of inspiration and inspiring, because Maryland did what Maryland does best. We met the moment. From our Maryland Transportation Authority, whose decisive actions saved countless lives, to the Unified Command Team, who worked tirelessly to reopen our federal channel in just 11 weeks, when many expected it to take 11 months, to our federal delegation, Maryland General Assembly, and local partners who immediately rose to support Marylanders and help secure the funding that we need. And to Secretary Wiedefeld and the entire MDOT team, you never ever took the eye off the ball. Your steadfast expertise have not just made this moment possible, but you met it head on. In less than a year after the unimaginable tragedy, we stand here today, united, stronger than ever before, ready to rebuild, ready to show the nation what Maryland is made of. Pre-construction is already underway on both land and water, with demolition set to begin this spring. And soon, Maryland's first cable-stayed bridge will rise, not just replacing what we lost, but revealing what we have found: strength and unity in our state. As a transportation engineer, I spent my career designing and building infrastructure. But here's the truth: a road is never just a road. A bridge is never just a bridge. Transportation is a force of freedom, connecting people to opportunities, communities to one another, and businesses to the economy. And freedom and resilience go hand in hand. One cannot truly exist without the other. And make no mistake, resilience has always been a part of Maryland's story. More than 210 years ago, through fire and uncertainty, the Star-Spangled Banner waved and endured over Fort McHenry. And just as the flag stood battered but unbroken, this bridge will stand as a beacon of perseverance. This bridge will stand not as a testament to one person, but to all Marylanders, to the 6 workers we lost and their families, to workers who will bring it back to life, and to the spirit that defines this great state. So let the nation know that Maryland is the land of the free and home of the brave. Now it's my honor to introduce Congresswoman from the 3rd District, U.S. Representative Sarah Elfreth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Lieutenant Governor. It's a privilege to be with all of you today. Thank you to the governor and his administration. You've kept your eye on the ball every single day since this tragedy occurred, and Marylanders know that. I'm here today on behalf of the entire Maryland congressional delegation, a number of whom are busy voting in DC right now. Senator Van Hollen, Senator Alsobrooks, Congressman Mfume, of course, whose district we are sitting in, Congressman Olszewski, whose district was majorly impacted by this tragedy, and I am proud to represent Anne Arundel and Howard counties that were equally impacted by the transportation deficit that we've experienced. I'm so glad the governor highlighted the 6 lives that were lost and their families. Let's continue through this construction and through the opening to uplift those families and make sure they know how much we honor them. Now, I am old enough to remember when Republicans and Democrats could come together and do big things. It was only 2 months ago, actually, when led by the governor and quarterbacked by Senator Cardin, Senator Van Hollen, Congressman Mfume, Congressman Andy Harris, Chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Tom Cole, came together recognizing, as the governor said, this is not just a Baltimore asset and Baltimore problem. This is a regional asset. This is a national asset that deserves the investment of the U.S. Congress. And Governor, I think I mentioned when I went up to introduce myself to Chairman Cole, who's a Republican, on the floor 2 weeks ago, and to thank him for his tireless advocacy for this bridge in his committee, he said, "Oh, it was all your governor." So know that you have many fans, not just in the Maryland delegation in Congress, because they recognize your fierce advocacy for this project. And I'll just close by saying, let this bridge be a beacon of what is possible, what can be accomplished through teamwork, through bipartisanship, and through the optimism of what can happen when we work together. Thank you very much for leading this effort. I'm proud to next introduce my fellow Towson University Tiger, Secretary of MDOT, Paul Wiedefeld.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Let me begin again by obviously thanking Governor and Lieutenant Governor for your leadership, but really more importantly for your support. The support of our team, the support of the community, support of the families, support of the workers. I mean, that's really what it's been about, and you continue to do that. So I just want to thank both of you first and foremost. I also want to thank Secretary Martinez with the Office of Small Business Affairs because, thank you. Because we want to make sure that small businesses and minority businesses have a big part of this contract going forward. So thank you for all your efforts in working with us on that. I also wanted to thank the MDTA board members who are with us today. Thank you for taking time to be here and all your support throughout the year. I wanted to thank, obviously, our Executive Director at MDTA, Bruce Gardner, and a special thanks to Jim Harkins, our Chief Engineer at the Maryland Transportation Authority. As you know, Governor, he was our point person on Unified Command. At the same time, he was working behind the scenes on doing this. So a fantastic job. And obviously, Director Daniels at the port and everything that he's done as well. So this obviously is a significant milestone on our path to make Baltimore Region and the vital Northeast Corridor whole again. The port is an economic driver for all of Maryland and the nation, and the former bridge had a big role in the port's operations and success. The new bridge will do the same, helping the port grow. This bridge will also serve as a gateway to Baltimore City. The crossing will once again connect communities and people to opportunities. This bridge design is optimized to meet the needs of the region, both for today and for generations to come. While this is a beautiful bridge, it will also be a working bridge for a working city. I look forward to putting Baltimore's mark on this bridge by working with the communities on aesthetic designs such as lighting, steel girder color, and planned artwork for the bridge. This will add character and uniqueness from Charm City. We are ready to get to work, Governor. We are working, and we'll continue to work, but this work requires partnerships. And one of our greatest partners is Federal Highway Administration. And with us today is the Division Administrator, Valeria, my good friend and partner in this project and many more. So Valeria, please.
Thank you, Secretary Weatherford. What a glorious day today. Such a milestone. I am very happy to be here. I want to echo all the sentiments expressed today already and recognize the outstanding collaboration, partnerships that brought us to this point of rebuilding the Francis Scott Key Bridge, or as we call it at Federal Highway Administration, FSK. Near 11 months ago, Baltimore, Maryland, and the entire nation were shocked by the collapse of the FSK Bridge. When I learned of the collapse, I immediately thought about people who were on the bridge. My heart goes out to the families of 6 construction workers who perished that day. Their absence is deeply felt, and their families' lives will never be the same. The heroic actions of Maryland Transportation Authority officers who swiftly respond by closing the bridge approaches and communicating the emergency undoubtedly saved many lives. Thank you, officers, for your heroic actions. Following this catastrophic event, Federal Highway Administration mobilized immediately, working across multiple offices and in close coordinations with local, state, and federal partners. Thank you, the U.S. Coast Guard, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, the Maryland Department of Transportation, their modes of Maryland Transportation Authority, and the State Highway Administration, the City of Baltimore, and all who helped to mitigate supply chain impacts, manage traffic, and reopen the port. I would be remiss not to include our key federal environmental agencies we continue to work with, such as U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, and the Environmental Protection Agency. Together, we are ensuring that emergency procedures, environmental reviews, and permitting processes are expedited to support the rapid reconstruction of this vital infrastructure. As you know, Federal Highway Administration announced the immediate release of $60 million in quick release of emergency relief within hours of MDOT's request for funding. This funding served as initial down payment, and thanks to Maryland congressional delegation, the bridge reconstruction will be fully federally funded, ensuring people of Maryland ensuring that people of Maryland are not left to carry this financial burden alone. Federal Highway Administration Maryland Division team continues to work actively with all our partners, and we remain fully committed to seeing the project through. None of this progress would be possible without the strong leadership and partnerships between federal, state, and local agencies, among those with the invaluable input from the community. Thank you all for your hard collaborative work, ensuring that bridge is rebuilt stronger than before, a critical link for regional infrastructure is restored to provide for economic stability and the safety for all who rely on it. Thank you, have a wonderful day, and it's my great pleasure to introduce Arman Patel from Maryland Motor Carrier Association.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of my organization, the Maryland Motor Truck Association, we're very, very pleased and excited to be here at this event. I certainly want to reiterate what all the previous speakers have mentioned. The level of cooperation, the level of anticipation was really unprecedented, I think, in almost any event, certainly in my career. On behalf of the trucking community as a whole, and especially those who service the port, we want to express our sincere thanks to all of those who helped with the disastrous impact of this tragedy. Now, I have a list of thank yous, and you know what they say about thank yous. You know, when you start listing them, you inevitably leave someone off. So my apologies ahead of time if that happens. But our special thanks goes out to the White House and the U.S. Department of Transportation, who listened and understood the challenges that we faced, enabling the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to enact temporary hours of service rulings, allowing our drivers to retrieve diverted Maryland cargo from neighboring ports. Governor Moore, whose leadership showed what can be accomplished while respecting the dignity of the victims and their families and emphasizing safety as a guiding principle. Secretary Wiedefeld, for his stewardship of resources and experience during the recovery process. An extra shout out to the entire team at the Maryland Department of Transportation, including SHA, the MDTA, for helping with the challenges of container transport and coordinating our requests. Port Director Jonathan Daniels, whose day-to-day advice and guidance helped the community maintain focus while informing us of the progress and challenges of the effort. Secretary of Labor Portia Wu and her extraordinary team for the implementation of the Worker Retention Program and other support programs, including unemployment insurance available for independent contractors. Secretary of Commerce Kevin Anderson for the financial assistance to business owners. There are many others, but we also want to include the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development, the Controller's Office, Baltimore County, the City of Baltimore, and also our neighboring states of Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. For our organization, it was never really a matter of how much a new bridge would cost. We're pleased that it's going to be backed by the federal government, but for us it was really a matter of how much would it cost not to rebuild it. The intermodal group from our association suffered a disproportional impact from this tragedy, but the impacts are felt through today and will be felt until the new bridge is reopened. A study was recently released within the last few weeks by the University of Maryland and Morgan State University that estimates the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge will increase the trucking industry's operating costs by $92.8 million in 2025, and each year thereafter until a new bridge is opened in 2028. That totals almost $450 million of additional expense, and that's if we remain on schedule, so we're holding you to it. That said, we are confident that there is a team in place to deliver a new bridge safely, on time, and within budget. Thank you again, everybody. At this time, I'd like to bring the governor back up to the podium for any questions.
Sure, and in terms of pier protection, as you can imagine, the Key Bridge was built over 50 years ago, so we're going to use the latest, basically the standards that are now international as we design this bridge for protection of the bridge. I'm sorry? Well, they're still doing final design, most likely not dolphins, but it's still in the preliminary design stage for that. Sure. So the lanes will be basically will be to interstate standards today. So there'll be 10-foot shoulders on the outside and 4-foot shoulders on the inside. It will go from 185 feet to 230 feet from the waters, from the high tide. So it will accommodate future vessels of much larger size. As you know, we're building a bridge for 100 years. 2 lanes on each, exactly.
My response is we were able to get here by being able to work together. That we were able to get full funding from the federal government, 100% cost share, because there was both Democrat and Republican support in order to make that happen. That was important because without that level of bipartisan support, we wouldn't be here. And so we're thankful for the support that we've received. You know, Congresswoman Elfreth mentioned, you know, people like Chair Cole and Chair Womack, Republicans who believe that this project is necessary and required, and we're thankful and we expect the continued bipartisan support in order to complete the project.
Again, we have come a long way since coming up with the first estimate 3 weeks after the collapse of the bridge. We continue to work with our partners at Federal Highway. We'll be coming up with an update on schedule and budget the next month or two as we, again, get much more detail. And in terms of, we have been working very closely with businesses and obviously the community in Baltimore City and Baltimore County in offering other opportunities, particularly transit, for people to use, and clearly some of the things we've done to make sure if there's any incidents on the roadway to clear them as quickly as possible, just given the limited capacity that we have now in this system.
There have been some questions at the beginning, whether or not you were going to include a memorial to those who were killed while working on the bridge when the collapse happened. Is that part of this new design, and how would that work, and what would it look like?
We know that once the bridge is complete, the memory of those who we lost on March 26th, their memory will not be forgotten. And so we will make sure, and we'll continue to make sure as we're going forward, that the memory of those that we lost will be remembered and preserved. Do you want to talk about cable stay?
We have a international team working on it, to be frank, to help us with that. We have a very strong team, as I mentioned, with Jim here as our chief engineer. So we're basically taking the best of the best that we can find, but we're also very focused on the time to redo this bridge. You just heard from the Trucking Association, the impacts that has, and anyone that travels in this area knows that every day. And then in terms of keeping the costs, both today's costs and future costs, at a minimum as we can.
Yeah, the next big step will be in the spring when we will have the demolition of the still enacted pillars that we need to take down, because immediately after the demolition, we will begin the construction process. The beauty of today is that while today is the announcement about the cable stay, and again, the first cable stay bridge that we have in the state of Maryland, there has been work that's been already happening, whether it is soil sampling, whether it is work that's happening both in the water and also on land. So that work will continue, but the next big event the next big thing that we'll see will be the demolition of the pillars that are still enacted, because the construction will begin immediately after that.